Hello, this is Randy with Excel for Freelancers, and in today's video training we have Excel File Manager Part 4, in which we will show you previews of video, previews of Word documents. We will have picture preview as well as PDF previews, and most interesting of all, we have an Excel preview where we're actually going to show a preview of other Excel documents as well as audiobooks. So it's going to be a great training. Let's get started. Okay, thank you. Now that we're off, I've got one of the most exciting features today, and that it would be the preview. Which is something that we've been looking forward to ever since we started this Excel file manager. And in fact, this preview, especially in Word document, we have the ability to double click and actually edit a Word document. So it's actually an embedded Word document. We have pictures here. We have a video file, which is really amazing here, which we can preview videos, which I really love. We have the ability to preview the PDF folders and files, which is really nice. We also have an update to the show options, in which we are now keeping the button static and we're just changing the text. So we'll show you how that was done. We have added delete confirmation so that you can, if you want to delete a file or delete a folder, we now have a confirmation. So whether you want that confirmation to appear, and that confirmation is when we're going to delete something, we just go ahead and click on the delete file, and you'll see we do get a confirmation pop-up. If we were to not have this, we unselect this, and then when we click delete file, it'll automatically go ahead and delete that file right away without the confirmation. So the confirmation is nice and helpful, and we have that both for folder and file. We also have the ability to preview, and preview is optional. You may not want to preview certain files. You may want to preview only specific files. So we do have previews for up to 6 different types, including picture, Word, PDF, Excel, video, and audio. So and audio is pretty much the same thing as, let's go ahead and pull up an audio file here. And audio is the same as a video, except it'll just play an audio file using the Windows Media Player. So that's kind of helpful. And we also have had, let's see what else. We added the ability to highlight a specific folder, which we're going to go over previously. We're going to add that in. Let's go ahead and start with that as a suggestion on a YouTube video. We had the by a guy named Mark on YouTube, a very helpful comment, and what he asked for was the ability to highlight the folder that we're on. Since we don't really know, we know up here it's the 220 junk folder, but it would be nice to highlight it, right? If we were going to click images, I want to know by highlighting it using conditional formatting. So let's go ahead and do that now. And what we'll do is we can just select any type of file, and what we're going to do is we're going to match this. We want to know when there's a match to the folder path and when it's matched into the B5. So when those are equal, we want it to highlight. So let's go ahead and do that right now. Into the home and conditional formatting, and we're going to select a new rule, and we'll use a formula. And what type of formula? When do we want it true? Well, when this B9 equals B5. However, we want to make sure that B9 covers every single row for the entire range. So we're going to remove the $sign from before the 9. That's going to make the range dynamic, and it's not going to be fixed on that one row. So that's important. Let's go ahead and set a format. We'll go ahead and give it a fill range, and let's go ahead and give it that blue, which is consistent with our theme. And now it's not going to work just yet, so we need to actually set the range of that. So let's go into the conditional formatting, go back to manage rule, and we'll look at the rule we just created. And the range that we're going to apply to is going to be all the way from, let's say, D9, and the 9 is key, that 9, all the way to, let's say, P, and then we're going to go to row, let's say, 1000. And what that's going to do is it's going to apply that right away, and you'll see that new folder now has been highlighted, as well as 220 junk, because we have those in there. And let's go ahead and pull that rule up again, and you'll see it's been changed. So sometimes that happens. Let's go ahead and go into conditional formatting, manage rules once again, And you'll see that the B5 has been changed, so we want to make sure that this is B9. Sometimes it will change automatically when we change this applies to. So we want to make sure that B9 here and D9 are on the same row. When we click apply, now we'll see it's accurate again, and images is the file. Now, if you remember in the Excel File Manager part, let's go ahead and extend that all the way to P. Let's go ahead and do that. I want it all the way to the end. Okay, let's apply that. There we go. Now remember, when we do some work to folders, we actually copy that range from this. So when we mess up, when we do a drag and drop, we're going to copy that backup folder range from here, and we witness that in part 3. But what I want to do is, now that I've just added this range, I want to update that backup range. So let's go ahead and we'll go into the code under the developers, and let's pause the code just for a moment, and we'll go into the VBA, and I want to pause this code just because I want to copy and paste some formatting and I don't want the code running. So we'll start out over here on D9 and go all the way over to, let's say, P1000. So we can click on P1000 and go directly to that, and then we'll move right up all the way back to D9 and highlight that. And we're going to copy that. Control C, and then we're going to go over to our backup range, our backup folder format here. We're going to paste in those formats, paste special and paste formats. And the reason we're doing that is because we want that conditional formatting also in here. See, that's blue. That way, when we do perform a drag and drop, then the format, the backup format, is all the way brought back in here. So now we have a highlighted row. So now we can rerun the code. Let's go ahead and restart that code there and reset it. And now whatever folder we click on, we will automatically be highlighted, which is really nice, a nice touch. So thank you, Mark, for that suggestion. That was great, and I always appreciate everybody's suggestions, and they're really helpful. So thank you for that. And next up, let's go ahead and go to these file preview. This is a really exciting feature that that I rarely see in file managers, let alone, and definitely not in Excel. It works pretty well. It's not perfect. The video is kind of, the sizing of the video can be a little bit off, but it works pretty good. And you see how the video sizing works pretty good. And it's fast, which I like. And the pictures, of course, work great. I know the pictures are good. The video sizing, you'll see sometimes it'll size it over here, and you click it again. And the Windows Media Player is not the best component. There's lots of issues with that, but it's pretty universal, and it does require an add-in. So I want to make sure that you do add that in, because it's not going to work. If you do want to preview videos, then you'll want to go ahead and make sure you have this add in right here into the VBA under the Tools References. Now, if there's a bug, you're not going to see that. You're not going to see this references. So, for example, right? Let's say we create a bug here, and we go back into our Excel file, and then we will notice that bug. Okay, so now that we've created this bug here, if you go into Tools, that references, you see it's grayed out, remember? So if you ever see it's grayed out, make sure you reset the code, that reset code, and we'll delete that bug. Okay. So make sure you reset the code. Once you reset it, you can then access references. That's a really important part that some of us miss. So what I have, here's the following references: Visual Basic for applications, 14.0 library and 16.0 library. I'm using both of those. So you'll notice on Microsoft Office you'll have various libraries. So you make sure that if you do get a bug, you'll want to make sure to include any libraries that are missing or whatever you do have for Microsoft Office. I'm using a Windows Media Player library here. This is an important part. This was what's going to get our video to run, and we use the Microsoft scripting runtime, and that's kind of important for the file and folders. So these are the 5 references that you will want. If you run into bugs, you may show something that is missing. So what you want to do if it's missing is find something comparable down here into your Microsoft, and then select that. And that's going to be helpful. I try not to use references too much, because it's kind of it's sometimes tricky, but for this instances we're covering we're really stretching the abilities of Excel, so reference libraries were pretty required in this. Alright, let's go over the code and see how this preview was done. In fact, it's not too much code at all. It was a relatively simple code to figure out, because we were able to use a lot of the code that covers a lot of that, and I'll go over that with you. back into the VBA under File Manager, the sheet, we did perform some selection change because when we select something, we want it to happen, right? When we select, that's what we want, some action to perform. So it's going to be under selection changes where we're going to add in our code. Here is selection change right here. So that is the area we're going to. And what is it that we want to happen? Well, first of all, we need to run a check. The first thing we want to do is if this is a picture file, and how do we know it's a picture file? We can use this icon. If it's a video file, we check for this icon. If it's a Word file, so we can check the icons. And that's how we know. And what we want to do is under the options, we want to say, hey, if the user has selected, let's say we unselected Z27. If that's unselected and we select a picture, nothing's going to change, right? Because we have not selected. However, if we select picture, if it's a checkbox and we select the picture, then our picture is going to show up. So we want to give the user the ability to select for a preview or not to select for a preview with these 6 different options. You may not want to preview video and audio, so we'll just unselect those. So we do need to check, for example, if the user has selected a picture and Z27 is a check mark, then go ahead and run the preview. So basically we've done that type of check for all 6 different types of files. And so that's why you see 6 different if range. So each one says if R and the target value. R is the icon. R is the icon, right? Here's R, right? This is our icon. Now I've gone ahead and added for our icon defaults just to name them. For example, I've put a Word document and I've named it Word icon. I've put a PDF icon here and named it. And I've done that for all 6 different types, so it's very easy to recognize those icons. And I've also added colors. The colors have no effect here at all. It's just something that, you know, it's easier to recognize. So for example, if Excel icon, so that we can easily identify that. That's way when we're looking in the code, here, it says sheet 2 picture icon, okay? So for example, if R equals the picture icon, R is the icon, and Z27 equals the checked icon. That means Z27 is checked. The user does want to preview them. In that case, go ahead and run this code, document preview. Now, we have the same macro. We're running the same macro regardless of the type of preview, which is really convenient. So that means I have one macro to run all 6 different types of previews. So it's going to be really helpful and really easy. But I do need to run a separate check, 6 different separate checks to see if the user has selected and it goes from 27, 28, 29, 30, and it's just basically checking for each type. And that's all I've done there. It's relatively simple. So let's go into the document preview macro and see how this was done. Under the, I have a new module here called File Preview here. And when we double click on that, we're going to look for the macro. We don't need this. Let's go ahead. And we have one macro called Document Preview. And we've gone over that. And let's go ahead and go over that in detail now. We don't need this either. Some testing that was done. All right. And we'll save it. Always save after your changes so that I make sure that you get the updated copy, and make sure that you click the link in the description below so you can download your own free copy of this, whether it's on YouTube or Facebook or wherever you are seeing this. I'll always include a link to your free document either through Facebook or email. You can access it and get that downloaded so you can play with this and make it your own and make changes and see what else you can come up with. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to run through this macro. First of all, we've dimensioned the file name. I need to know that file name. That's critical. That is the file name that is in X. If you remember in our other trainings, we have our file path. Our file path is here. Let's go ahead and update that. Our file path is here, right? I've chosen not to display just to save some space, but our file path is in X, so we don't have to remember that. Let's go ahead and get rid of size too. I want to make this, all right, we'll just, that's where you can see everything. So I've just gotten, we're going to show name and date created, or actually let's go with type and get rid of date. Just keep it simple. Keep it simple. So we just show these 3 columns for now. So that way you can see all the preview here. It's much easier. So that file path in X. I want you to remember that, because that file path is going to let us know to get that preview regardless of the type. So also what I want to do is when we run some code, I want to make sure that if there's any previews that were previously, I want to delete those or hide those previews. So for example, the first thing we want to do is with media player, I want to make sure it's false. In other words, if there was a previous preview that is displayed, I want to turn that off. So with the media player 1, and that is false. So I've created an object called media player, and that's false. And I'll show you how I did that. Let's go ahead and go back into it just so we can back up. Let's go ahead and select the media player, and here's the media player. Now, when you go into the developers and the design mode, you can select that media player, and you can see various properties for that media player right in the developers, and clicking on properties. And I'll drag that over here, and you can see some properties, and we set this, and the URL is automatically set. We're going to set that through VBA. And basically all I did here to do that, to get that media player, was to go into the developers tab and actually insert, I believe, an ActiveX control, right? So we have the ability to add a media player right through here, and it was all the way down here under Windows Media Player. So if we were to drag that in there, we could drag that in. So that's how all I did to bring in Media Player into the document. So now we have that, and we always want to go out. We always want to exit out of the design mode. Nothing will run when we're in the design mode, so we want to make sure to unselect that so that it can play. So that is how I got that, and the default name that came up was Windows Media Player 1, so I just stuck with that name, and that is the name we're using in VBA. Windows Media Player was the default. You could change the name to your own name. So we're going to say with that is false, and the position of the Windows Media tends to get misaligned at times based on the video size, based on the default size. So I kind of always reset it back to its original location, which is AC9 and the top AC9. And then I reset the width. Even though it's not displaying now, what it does is it kind of prepares the size and the position for the next time it's played. And I do it twice here, even down here, because it tends to get off space. Just the video player is a little bit wonky. You'll notice that, and but it still works. It just doesn't always, the size. You'll notice that, let's see, every once in a while when I click something else and click the size, you'll see, look, now it's over here. I don't know why. It's not perfect every time, but if you select it again, it'll reposition itself. Sometimes it's big like that, and then it'll get back to its original location. Maybe you can find a solution. I kind of ran out of time looking for a solution for that, but it gets back to where it wants to go every once in a while, so it should be fine. I usually click on it 3 times and it's perfect by then, and then it usually stays okay for a while. So I've gone ahead and duplicated just to reset the position right at the AC, and resetting the width and height. And you can adjust this. You can make it a nice little tiny video, or you can make it a bigger video just by adjusting the width and height here. So that resets it for the next time. And then what I do is also I've used Shapes Preview. Now this preview file is the same thing. If this was a picture that appeared before, I want to delete that before any other one comes up, or even the Word document, regardless of the type. So when you click here, you'll see this is preview file. Right? Also, conveniently, I've renamed the Word document the same thing. When you click on the Word document here, also preview file. So the reason is we don't have to delete multiple, so regardless of, even PDF is the same name. I've given the same name, so that way when we delete it, it's very easy. It's just deleting the preview file regardless of the type. And this is an object. This is an object in here. So what I've done is I've said, okay, I want this object in here, whether it is a Word document, whether it is a PDF document, or whether it is another format. That's the name I've given it, just to make it easier. So that's why we delete that, and we're going to delete this. And if for some reason it did not exist, it would throw up an error. So I've wrapped this statement in on error resume next and on error go to 0. This way no bug will appear, just in case for some reason there is no preview file. It won't throw up an error. And then the next step, importantly, we need to define that file name. That file path of where the actual file exists is going to be in column X and whatever row you have selected. So therefore, that is an important part of that. And next up, you will see, once we define the file name, we then have to do an if statement. And now what I'm going to say is I want to know what type we have selected, because if we've selected on a Word type of document or an Excel or a PDF, I want the following preview. And yes, you know what I think I forgot to mention? We can do preview in Excel. Isn't that awesome? Let's go ahead and, you know what, I forgot to show you a sample. One of the cool things, let's go ahead and grab a sample of Excel and show you just how that looks like in here. Let's go ahead and pull up one of our Excel for Freelancers samples so we can show you just what that looks like. We have free training videos here, and we'll go ahead and here's an Excel Facebook sharing list, and go ahead and select on that, and you can see that we have an Excel preview right here. This is a large one. We have one-click increments. Remember that one if you saw that. And we can actually preview even Excel files in here. Isn't that cool? Let's show you how we did that. In fact, let me go ahead and copy this one into the test so that we can use one folder and show you all those. So let's go ahead and click on test and then paste that right in there. Now we got all the different file types in here. We've got Excel, PDF, Word, videos. Oh, we don't have audio. Let's go ahead and copy audio in here. And so we can quickly preview all different types. And I can hear that. Let's go ahead and copy that and paste that into our test folder so that we have all the different file types that we can show you, whether it's Excel, and I have never seen a preview of Excel inside an Excel, so that's really, really cool. And so let's go ahead and go through that in the code. Back into the code we go. So under the file preview where we were, so what we're going to say is if it's a Word, if it's an Excel, or if it's in a PDF, do the following. Okay? All of these types pretty much get the same type of preview. What we're going to do is we're going to create an object, an OLE object. And that's part of Excel. And then we're going to give it the file name. We're going to add it, and we're giving it a file name. And what is that file name? That file name is the link that is in X. And we're gonna link to it. We don't need to link to it. And we're going to display as an icon. No, we want to see the whole thing, not as an icon. And we're going to give it a name. Remember, everything has the same name. That's the way we can easily delete it or hide it in the future because they all have the same name. That's going to display it. And now we're going to say is if the range R in the active cell equals Excel icon. If it's in Excel, we need to delete it because it's very easy to get multiple Excel workbooks. So what I'm saying in this case is if it is an Excel file, go ahead and close that workbook. Okay, and without changing, that would be because what we're doing is we're pulling a picture basically. We're pulling the workbook up and we're creating an object based on it, and then I want to close it because once I have that kind of picture, I don't need Excel open anymore. Word doesn't create it, but Excel does create it. So in this, we are basically going to close that workbook, and we're going to use two different ways just in case it stays open. We're going to use the file name and we're going to use the workbook. So this way our files, if we do not have these open, if we do not close these, we will, even though we will create open too many workbooks, as we select it, it'll just open and open and it won't close them. So this closes it. Once we've gotten the preview, we don't need it open anymore. So that is helpful. That's why those two statements are there. That's it. That's all we need to do to create previews for Word, for Excel, and PDF. Let's go ahead and go through that so you can see just how that works. We can create a PDF just like this. We can create an Excel preview just like this. And we can create a Word document just by selecting that. And the Word actually has a benefit. We can actually double click inside a Word document and then it becomes an embedded Word document where you can actually make changes. So I thought that was really kind of cool and helpful. And you may find that helpful as well. So I hope so. So by double clicking inside it, the Word document becomes live. We've got our header here right inside of Excel. So that is cool. I don't think there's too many people that have been able to show it as a preview, but I have seen it on YouTube a few times before as far as an embedded Word document in Excel. I have seen that, but not as a preview. Let's go ahead and hide the options here. We don't need them open. Let's go out of that. Just simply selecting outside will go ahead and get out of that Excel edit mode. We can hide the options. We don't need to show them. And then let's go ahead and slide over here. So we've shown you 3 previews now. We have PDF, Word, and Excel. Let's go into picture and audio and video so we can show you those types as well. Back into the code we go. And back into the file preview. We have now on picture selection. So we need an if statement to find out if it's a picture. If R in the active cell row equals picture icon, then just do the following steps. Insert a picture using the file name, and then remember, name that picture preview file. We're naming it always the same file, so we don't have duplicates, we don't have multiple names. Everything has the same name, so it's very easy when it comes to cleaning it up. We don't want multiple different files or multiple previews that get on top of each other, and it's hard to clean up and increases the workbook size. So everything gets the same name because we're going to be only showing you one at a time, so they might as well have the same name. So also we're going to set a width. We're going to set a default width of 200 and 300. You can change these as you like. That is it on that. Also video. Now this does not display it yet. All we're doing, the reason is because both audio and video are going to have this type of display, so we're going to display that right here. But I want to go through audio first. So if it's a video or audio, we are going to set their own different width and height, and we're going to set it because it's a slightly different because we're using media player to set it. So in audio and video, we're going to do 2 tests. If the icon equals video icon, or if it's audio icon, then do the following. And what is the following? With media player, we already have created this, so we don't need to add a media player. It's already there. It's either hidden or it's shown. We're going to give it a URL, and that's the file name. And then we're going to position this. Where do we want to position it? Right at AC9. That's where everything is positioned, and that is this cell right here. That is the cell we're starting from, AC9. And then all we're going to do is move it down a little bit lower and a little bit to the right with our increment. So that is how we've done that. So we're going to position it right at AC9, and then we're going to increment it a little bit later on. So we're going to give it a width, our video, and our height. Our video and audio have the same, and then we're going to make it visible. After we've set the position, after we've set the size, we're going to then display it. And so now if it's not audio video, that means else. That means it could be any one of these. It can be a Word, Excel, PDF, or picture. Then we're going to display the preview file. Then we're going to position. So this way I use the positioning and the increment for everything except video, because video has its own. So that means with preview file, because at this point free preview file could be a picture because we've set the preview file picture here, or it could be a Word, it could be Excel, or it could be PDF because we've set that file name here. All of them have the same. Since they all have the same name, we can easily work with them. We can easily set all of them to the same dimensions. Whereas basically we're setting that to the top left and we're incrementing this. And this positions it a little bit lower and a little bit to the right. So that's helpful. And that is it. And then we reset the calculator. We stop it. It's actually a very, very simple and streamlined code because we've used the same attributes, because I've used the same attributes as much as possible, and we've used the same object. So it's an incredibly small amount of code for a very, very powerful feature where we get whether it's video or whether it's audio, whether it's actually an Excel file in which we can preview, which could be really helpful. Keep in mind that you may not want to show this on let me go ahead and pause that. You may not want to show this for hidden because it does show. So sometimes this preview will show hidden rows, hidden columns. So keep in mind, if you have sensitive information, you may not want to show a preview on Excel. Keep that in mind because even if it's hidden, sometimes it'll automatically display it. So if I had passwords in here in this hidden row, that would not be too good. So keep that in mind. It may show things you don't want to show, right? And whether it's PDF or whether it's a picture, everything can be shown on this preview, so it's really, really cool. All right, we've covered preview. We've covered conditional formatting on folders. There was one in the prior versions we had show options, a button here, right? And I wanted all of our buttons up at the top, and I didn't want to show it, and I just wanted to set a dynamic text for this button. So let's go ahead and show you how we did that. So based on the condition, this button is going to show, and it's actually easier code. I kind of like this a little bit better. So we've set that to hide and show. And let's go ahead and go into the code and see how we did that. Basically, what I did is I took this button and I linked it with a specific cell. The text in this button is linked to cell AP4. And that cell is going to show either, and here's AP4 right here, hide options, or it's going to show show options based on the VBA text. So VBA, we're going to have VBA change the text in this cell. So that's how we do it, and then based on the link, and then it shows it either way. So let's go ahead and go into the VBA. Under the option macros here, we double click that, and I've renamed this show hide option because this macro is going to be used for both show and hide. The first thing we want to do is we want to test what condition it's in. We want to know, is it in the hidden or is it in the shown matter? Which one is displayed? Which is the current condition? So here, if AA1, AA is the column, 1 is just any row. If the column is hidden, that means we need to show the options because they're currently hidden, right? If they're currently shown, then we need to hide them. So basically it's saying if it's in the hidden state, then show the column, hidden equals false, and change the AP4 text to hide options. Change the text. However, if it's currently displayed, then hide the columns and change the text to show options. This is actually much more easier and streamlined code. I like it a little bit better, so I wanted to show you that option as well. And it works really great. Hide and show options. Clicking it will allow us to hide and show. I've also updated some icons here, so we've done that as well. Let's see what else we've done. We have a delete folder. I don't believe delete folder was in the last one, so I've added delete folder. And so when we want to create, let's say I'll go ahead and this new folder is not important. We can delete that folder just by clicking, are you sure you want to delete it? And we can click yes, and then it's going to go ahead and refresh all of the images and go up. So that's gonna be really helpful. And let's go ahead and show you how that was done. Into the VBA code under the folders macro. Let's go ahead and go into the folders. On the last macro that I have created is now going to be a delete folder here. What I've done is I've dimensioned the path as a string and the response is integer, and this just allows us to ask that. And it's going to test if Z25 is the checkbox icon, right? Why is this? Why do we run this test? Well, we want to know if the user has checked confirm on folder delete. If they have checked this, that means they want a confirmation. If they don't check this, no confirmation will come up and the folder will be deleted automatically on selection of this button here. So that's really important. So we've added that checkbox in there. So if it's checked, then the response is, are you sure you want to delete this? If the response is no, then exit the sub. So that is going to be helpful here. Let's go ahead and send end if right here. Okay, and there we go. That's because what we want in this case is if it's not, then we are just going to go out of the sub. So if it's yes, then that's good. We don't need that. So now we have we're going to set the object, file system object, just as we had done, so we can recognize the file system. We've set the folder path to B5. B5, if you remember in our previous training, that's our current folder position. And then what we're going to do is we want to go to the parent folder right away, and then delete the folder, and then go to the parent of that folder, and that just helps us refresh the list. So once we've displayed it, we want to make sure that if we're not in the current folder that was just deleted, that could create a bug. So we want to make sure to get out of that folder before we delete it. Before we delete it, we want to exit out of that. So that is why we have done that. And so that pretty much is it for all of the options. I think we covered everything a little bit quicker. Deleted folder, I got all the things that I've done here. done here is we've updated the update folder here, so that's going to be helpful. We covered everything else, so that's good. It's a powerful, powerful training where we added both preview of Excel files, PDF files, pictures, video, audio, and Excel files, which is really, really cool. So I hope you have loved this training, and thank you so much for joining me today. I'm not sure if there's going to be a part 5. If there is something you want to add in that I didn't add in, let me know. And then there might be a part 5, or we might move on to something else. So I love your comments and I love your shares. So I do appreciate your support on this. It's been a really, really fun project, and I'm so excited to create the file manager for you. And thank you very much for joining us today.